Do have our Ben Thompson, who's been covering Roy Cooper for many, many years, over the years. And he's here with us now in the Live Impact studio. Hey, Ben.
Hey, happy Monday.
Happy Monday. I'm kind of all over the place here as well, looking at all the videos and videos that we're coming into the Impact studio. But like I said, you've been covering for so many years. You know Mr. Cooper. Are you surprised by his announcement?
Not at all. I think, if anything, people were surprised that it took so long for him to make the announcement. They thought he might have gotten in a month or so ago. It seemed like he took his time. But the last time I interviewed him when he was governor, I had asked him, would you run again if you could? And he said, absolutely. I love this job. So it told me then, this was over a year ago, that this was a man who was not done with public office and wanted to do more. And I think a lot of folks saw the U.S. Senate seat as a prime opportunity to do just that. And that's when they thought Tom Tillis would still be in the seat. So I think this has been a long time in the making.
So do you think, though, with him just leaving in January, is there going to be voter fatigue with him jumping, back in 6 months later?
Republicans certainly hope so. And you can expect Republicans are going to tie him to Hurricane Helene, the response to that. And you can expect them to also tie him to the pandemic and some of the shutdowns that happened across North Carolina. That said, Roy Cooper is a formidable candidate. He's been running for office since 1986 and has won every single time he's run. He's never lost a race. 6 of those, 6 have been statewide races. There's not another person in North Carolina who can claim that record. So there's plenty that Republicans will pick on when it comes to his record, but the facts are that he is a seasoned pro who knows this state and knows its politics, and it's going to be a tough race.
Yeah, he's accomplished, but there's also been the controversies that
Sure.
Republicans, you say, are going to definitely poke holes in his
Sure.
governorship. His bid for Senate, then, his strengths and weaknesses.
I think his strengths is that I think he's largely a well-known, popular, quote-unquote, Democratic governor here in the state. Of course, he has his detractors, but overall, I think he's a well-liked guy. He bridges the gap that Democrats have recently had so much trouble bridging, and that he's a guy from Nash County, grew up on a farm, taught Sunday school. He's not this, Charlotte urban elite who went to, private schools in Harvard and worked in, skyscraper uptown, which is what Democrats have gotten a label as. Now, politically, he is very progressive, but he comes in a package wrapped differently than a lot of other Democrats out there that will appeal to a lot of independent-minded people out there, and not just people in the state of North Carolina's urban core, of Charlotte, of Asheville, of Raleigh, of Durham.
Yeah, with the current political state then of North Carolina, how does this statewide appeal work to his benefit?
I think he's won 6 statewide races. I mean, that is, no one else can come close to that. And it's one thing if you run for Congress and you just run for your district, or you run for a city council race, but like he has won statewide the first 4 times as Attorney General, second 2 times as governor. That is experience that nobody can come close to. And if Republicans end up nominating Michael Whatley, that's what it's looking like, he is a savvy political operator and a savvy political fundraiser, but he's spent most of his career behind the scenes. He will be new at being a candidate running for office. So he has a steep learning curve when you compare him to somebody who's run for statewide office 6 times. I mean, it's big. And Michael Whatley's a capable, smart man who's been in politics for years. UNC Charlotte grad, grew up in Watauga County. But it is different once you actually having to run as the candidate himself.
Yeah, I was going to say, with Whatley in the race or expected to run here, all eyes are going to be on this Senate race for sure.
And Jane, it is always like that. I said earlier that North Carolina is filled with the kindest, warmest people on the planet. But our Senate races are some of the nastiest, meanest races you ever. I mean, just think back to Cal Cunningham and Tom Tillis in 2020. Or think back probably 12 years ago, Elizabeth Dole and Kay Hagan. I mean, these are nasty, nasty races, and the national campaigns will dump money into this.
Oh, sure.
I would not be surprised if this is the most expensive race in the country next year. It just, Senate races here for North Carolina are not for the faint of heart.
No, I was going to say we're going to watch just for the tea, all the possible,
and there will be tea. And Roy Cooper, I think sort of his mystique to a lot of people is that he's this, sort of steady, stable, boring, guy, from Nash County who grew up on a farm. And Republicans are going to do their very best to make sure that they paint him in a far different way.
Yeah, I've talked to both Cooper and Whatley, and they are so savvy and quick and smart.
Absolutely. And
they love this state, and then they're going to turn into different people when they
different entirely people. And you know what? At some point, these candidates are just part of the machine. I mean, they have huge national apparatus around them at that point who are paying for the ads, who are paying, and not to say it's out of their control because they are the candidates at this point, but it at some point does get bigger than them.
Yeah,
it does. Because keep in mind, what's at stake here is control of the U.S. Senate. And right now, Republicans have a slim lead. And so Democrats, they just need to pick up a couple of these seats. And when they see Roy Cooper, they see that as perhaps the best chance because he's a well-known guy who's won so many times in a state that currently has a Republican senator in Tom Tillis. So when you start, if you're a Democrat nationally and you're looking to pick up in a few places, North Carolina is going to be the most obvious place.
Right. What do you think of Tillis stepping down, by the way? Was that something you saw coming?
I was a bit surprised. I've covered Tillis for years, followed him closely, and I was a bit surprised only because he had already announced at that point his campaign staff, and so it was like I thought if he was going to not run, he would have just said that several months ago. But within a month of announcing his campaign staff dropping out, I was kind of surprised, but you know what? And I don't know Senator Tillis personally or anything like that, but just in talking with him in my interactions, I do get the sense that, he likes his life. And he never hesitates to talk about how madly in love he is with his wife and their dogs. And he's always struck me as a guy who enjoys politics, but that he's okay living life up on the lake too.
Yeah, doesn't need it.
Yeah, and as we've seen play out over the last few years and during the first Trump administration, he butts heads with the president, and I think tries his best to walk that fine line, and I think it might have just gotten to the point of where he's like, you know what, I'm good. Peace, y'all.
Not worth it.
Let me finish out my next year and a half and be a dutiful soldier and a good Republican. And yeah. So I was surprised, but not entirely shocked.
Right.